I worked for the Port Law Enforcement. Y'all didn't know that either, did you? I spent time at Quantico at the FBI training schools. Y'all didn't know I was an agent. I probably shouldn't tell y'all that. Y'all don't care.
All right, so that's Herschel Walker again. He's Georgia's GOP Senate candidate, and he's been caught lying about being a part of law enforcement more than once. This is from a resurfaced video from September 2019 addressing soldiers at Joint Base Lewis-McChord in Tacoma. And it gets worse. Walker then proceeded to talk about a time where he almost killed somebody with his gun, and then changed his mind at the last moment because he noticed a bumper sticker. Let's watch that.
So I grabbed my gun. I said, I will kill him. Herschel Walker, one of the highest control, I'm gonna kill him. I got in David, one of my many. I took off on 183. And I can still remember the voice of Herschel. People been disrespecting you all the time. People are always doing stuff to you. You never done nothing to nobody. And all of a sudden this other voice, Herschel, your parents didn't raise you like that. Yes, they did. No, they didn't. Yes, they did. I thought I was losing my mind. As I got closer and closer to where I was gonna meet this guy, I started to pray. I said, Lord, I need some help right now. I said, I need you to help me. I said that I'm about to do something stupid right now. I need you to help me right now. I remember getting to this where I was gonna meet him at. I got out of my car and I put my hand on my gun. As I was walking to this truck, before I could see the guy, I saw the sign on the back of his truck that said, Honk, if you love Jesus. And that's what calmed me down.
So throughout this campaign, Herschel Walker has mentioned having a varied past in law enforcement. We've got an example of another story. The Atlantic Journal-Constitution reported that Walker has used his alleged law enforcement ties to justify why he has a gun, including a 2001 incident when he pursued a man who was late delivering a car. I worked in law enforcement, so I had a gun. I put this gun in my holster and I said, I'm gonna kill this dude. He said this at a 2013 suicide prevention event for the United States Army. And all of these claims that he's making about being in law enforcement are false. We have someone from his campaign who clarified to the ACJ, they reported Walker is not an agent. That would require a minimum of a bachelor's degree, and Walker left UGA before earning his degree. Asked to clarify, the Walker campaign provided the Associated Press with stories from 1989 as Walker was retiring from pro football, where he said that he spent a week at FBI school in Quantico, Virginia. They had an obstacle course where you shoot at targets and you protect your partner as you advance up the course, he told the Associated Press. I had fun. There were about 200 recruits there. And so unfortunately, Herschel Walker, I think is suffering from what a lot of former football players suffer from, which is, honestly, brain damage. He was a running back. I'm sure he hit his head a lot, but to recall your own history and your career and say that you've had jobs in law enforcement when really you just kind of took a field trip to Quantico one time, that's pretty concerning. The fact that this guy is a viable candidate, we've talked about him on the show time and again, it's insane. And to tell the voters in Georgia that he has a history in law enforcement is lying about having a background in public service that he does not. Cenk, what are your thoughts?
I don't think this story's about Herschel Walker. I think this story's about Republican voters and the kind of brain damage they have. Because there's 330 million people in the country. They don't have to follow very literal lunatics, like crazy people who are hearing voices in their heads. That's not my. That's the story you just heard Herschel Walker say out of his own mouth. He says, and he said that story a couple of times. I don't know if he's planning on murdering several different people or he keeps referring to that same story. But there's a voice in my head that says go kill that guy. But then I talk to that invisible voice and I say, hey, voice, give me a reason not to murder this guy. I'm so far out from voting for this guy, but even if he was for Medicare for all and Green New Deal and $15, $25 minimum wage, I don't care. If a progressive starts saying, so long, I was thinking of murdering this guy because I was talking to voices in my head, but then I saw a bumper sticker and that mentioned the Lord, and so then I decided the last second not to murder him. I'd be like, can we find someone else that's for Medicare for all? Like, why do we have to put this actual madman into office, right? And then you layer in the lies. Oh yeah, I'm kind of an FBI agent. No, No, there is no such thing as kind of an FBI agent. Like I've gone to the FBI headquarters. I worked at the Justice Department as an intern, as a prosecutor for the Southern District Attorney's Office. That doesn't make me the FBI director. But Republicans see this guy who is just totally nuts, just out of his mind, bonkers, and they're like, "That's my guy." He won with like 76% of the vote in the primary. And it's not like they didn't know he was a lunatic back then. There was 1,000. It does, look, forget the stories. They don't believe the mainstream media. And mainstream media has 1,000 problems. Okay, I got you, okay? Just listen to him. He'll tell you he's crazy, right? And they're like, but for Republican voters, that's not the bug, that's the feature. They're like, show me a lunatic liar, and I'll show you a guy that I love and will put into power. Of course, the top lunatic liar is Donald Trump, their hero of heroes.
Yeah, it's absolutely right that the only reason we're even talking about Herschel Walker right now is because Republican voters voted for him in the primary. And if it weren't for that, this would be a non-story. We wouldn't be talking about Herschel Walker so frequently, but we have no choice to, because maybe someone who has planned to cast their ballot, or someone who has a family member who plans to cast their ballot for Herschel Walker will see this and realize that this candidate that some people favor, maybe they don't even see these stories. Maybe they don't even see the side of him. Maybe they see it and they really like it. We really don't know. And I sound like a broken record. I talk about this all the time, but I really think it's a crisis of public education. The best thing for democracy is good public education, where we teach critical thinking, where people can watch Herschel Walker give these speeches, make sense of them, and realize that this is not someone who will represent their interests in government or someone who's fit for public office. Any last thoughts on this, Cenk?
Yeah, so by the way, why is it the feature? What a weird thing to say, like, I want someone crazy. I want someone who hears voices in their heads. And someone who's thinking about murdering people, but changes his mind based on a bumper sticker. Someone who's a pathological liar. There's a reason for it, because they don't want to know the truth. The truth is uncomfortable. And so if somebody tells them, oh, by the way, black folks and white folks are equal and should have equal rights, they're like, I don't like that. I don't want, gay people and straight people are equal and they should have equal rights to marriage, for example. I don't like that. Men and women are equal. And if men have freedom, women should have freedom over their own bodies. I don't like that. So I don't like the truth. The Constitution says there should be a separation of church and state, that we shall not establish a religion. They're like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I just want somebody to lie to me. The Second Amendment says you have to be part of a well-regulated militia in order to have a weapon. They're like, oh, I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all, okay? And so I want pretty little lies. That's why they elect liars. And in specific for black conservatives, they want them to not only attack other black people, which Herschel Walker does in spades, Ben Carson, every black conservative is known for attacking other black people. That's their calling card. That's why they get elected by Republicans, right? To be a mouthpiece for white racists. So that's why when Herschel Walker tells a story of him being a homicidal lunatic, the Republican voter likes that and goes, you see that? That confirms black people are crazy, but he got reformed by Jesus. That's a story that Republicans eat up for lunch, breakfast. Blacks are violent. Oh, Jesus saved them. That's why they vote for lunatics like Herschel Walker. It's not an accident. They mean to do it.
Yeah, just one more thing on this story. The fact that he says the reason he had a gun is because he was in law enforcement. In many states, if you're in law enforcement, that's a reason, right? You qualify, you don't have to apply, for special permits in order to conceal carry or open carry a weapon. But he was never in law enforcement. So did he, possess these firearms illegally? Is that how he got these guns? Because if he's citing the reason was that he was in law enforcement and he never was, sounds like he had illegal guns. And conservatives are talking like crazy right now that they support, legal purchases of firearms, and the only people who get firearms who do bad things are people who get them illegally, et cetera. I don't know, even their candidates are getting firearms illegally, it seems. If that's his reason for getting one and he was never in law enforcement, I'm not sure. Sounds like he got it illegally.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.